It is the Martha Zoller Show, and joining me right now is Representative Andrew Clyde. He was just out of a caucus meeting. So I know you can't talk about what you talked about in the meeting, Andrew, but what was the tone? You know, you lost a seat last night, so the majority's now 2. So what's the strategy now?
Well, I'll tell you, Martha, thanks for having me on. I will tell you that we need to stay unified to get what we're doing across the finish line. We're going to be working on FISA reform this week as well. You know, what the Senate sent across yesterday, that bill where they stripped border out of it, is dead on arrival here in the House. I'll tell you this, we had a good discussion on that this morning. And kind of where we stand, and had some suggestions as to what we do with it. And I think personally we should add H.R. 2 to it. We should strip a significant amount of that Ukraine funding out of it. We should make it paid for and send it right back to the Senate and have them deal with it. I think that's the point right there. It seems that Mitch McConnell in the Senate, his entire focus is Ukraine aid, and that's misplaced. It should be stopping the invasion at our southern border that our president has created, the Biden southern border invasion crisis.
So I'm so glad you just said what you did, because that's what my concern was. I don't think it should be dead on arrival. I think you ought to do what you're talking about, where you do what the Congress is supposed to do, where they get a bill from the Senate, they don't like something in it, or they don't think it has something in it. You either add it or you take out what you don't like, and then you send it back over there. And then you maybe get to conference committee at some point in time where you can actually get some work done. I think that's the better approach. So do you think that, I know that the speaker has said dead on arrival, but is he going to take up your suggestion? Is he open to it, do you think?
Oh, I think he is. Let me clarify that then. As written, as the policy, as the bill has come across from the Senate, it is dead on arrival. All right. It is not going anywhere in its current form.
Got it.
All right. So we're gonna amend that. We very well may send it back. I think, you know, the Israel aid part of it is crucial to support our ally, and our border, fixing the crisis at our southern border, the invasion at our southern border that Biden has created, that is crucial as well. Those are 2 absolutely imperative points that have to be a part of any discussion, and I think the speaker is very much intent on doing that.
So there's been 100 and some days since the last appropriations bill had been worked on. I mean, for a while, you guys were going really good at a good clip of getting appropriations bills done. Is that getting better? Do you see some changes on the horizon?
Well, I think, we have, quote, a top-line number now that is agreed upon, and we have some of the cardinals, and a cardinal is a subcommittee chair of the 12 subcommittees on appropriation that are working on those right now. But I'll tell you that the Senate's not going to do anything with our appropriations. I think that's smoke and mirrors until we actually use leverage. And the leverage is going to have to come on the 2nd of March. You know, we're just literally 2 weeks away, and the 8th of March, when the current continuing resolution expires, we're going to have to use that leverage, and it's going to be a drop down. It's going to be a fight. It'll be a fight because we are going to have to use that leverage to force the Senate to deal with our appropriation bills, to take them up, or we're not going to have a government that's funded. We've got a crisis at our southern border, and to continue to fund the government that continues that crisis at the southern border, I think is not responsible. So
there's a lot of talk about, you know, whether former President Trump is involved in legislation and whether, you know, how Biden is influencing legislation. And what I'm hearing from folks, Andrew, and I'm sure you are too, is they want to make sure work is getting done between now and the election. Because we all thought we were going to have a big red wave in 2022. And I think we're going to do pretty good. And I think we're going to have a big red wave in 2024. But if we don't, and we haven't done the work we should do between now and then, is the concern that people are sharing with me legitimate? Or do you have that concern too?
Well, I think we're certainly going to have a larger red wave in 2024 than we did in 2022.
Yes.
I think part of that is what we did last night, and that was we held a secretary, a cabinet position individual accountable for his actions. Hasn't happened in 150 years, only the second time ever in the United States where a cabinet official was impeached. We impeached Alejandro Mayorkas for high crimes and misdemeanors for 2 specific counts, and I'm so thankful that that went through, that we were able to do that. For lying to Congress, which is clearly an impeachable offense, and for failure to uphold his oath of office by faithfully executing the law as Congress has passed it. He has been absolutely a willful accomplice to Biden's self-inflicted border invasion crisis, and he deserved to be impeached, and he is impeached now. He has that crown to wear, that he is now an impeached secretary.
And, I mean, do you feel confident you're going to get good work done between now and the election? I mean, because I think people are concerned that people are going to just say, well, let's just wait till the election. I don't think we can afford to do that.
No, I don't think we can either, Martha. We're up here every session day doing the work of the people and trying to get good policy across the board. And now, some of that means that we have to hold administrative officials accountable. That means we've got to hold Biden accountable for what he has done. Literally the most corrupt president in the history, in my opinion, in my lifetime. And then also what we did last night with Alejandro Mayorkas. But other good work as well, which means we need our policy, and it's going to come down to a a funding fight. It's going to come down to a funding fight. You're going to see it the first week in March. And in order to get our policy implemented, we're going to have to use the leverage, the power of the purse, is what we have consistently called, to use that leverage to force the Senate, to force the White House to put Republican policies in place, or we're not going to have a government.
So I'm sure you have Democrats you talk to while you're up there. And Thursday night, the president went out and gave a press conference about the report, the special counsel report, and he confused Mexico with Egypt. He said Israel was over the top. I mean, there's a whole list of things. He got angry. He yelled at reporters. He had a CNN reporter ask him why, basically, they didn't replace him. So your thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, that was a pretty difficult thing to watch, honestly, to see the President of the United States be so mentally confused. He's still the president. He's still responsible for everything in the executive branch. The State of the Union on March 7th is going to be a very, very interesting thing to see. It could very well be a historic State of the Union for reasons that we really don't want it to be historic. But President Biden, I think, is very, very challenged. His administration is challenged. It's going to be difficult for them. He's losing in the polls right now. They're as low as they've ever been, and the border is a primary reason for that, and his inability on the world stage, his weakness on the world stage, it's all coming down around him. Now, I don't know exactly what the Democrats plan to do about that, but it certainly bodes well for Republicans.
Yeah, it is like watching an angry grandpa, though, and it is just not what you want to see. I asked the question, would you hire him to have the nuclear codes? No, but he's got them. Would you hire him to, be in charge of national security? No, but he is. And it's a problem. It's a huge, huge problem. Andrew, if people have issues they have and need to get in touch with your office, how can they do that?
They can go to clyde.house.gov. That's the website where they can send us emails and they can communicate with my staff directly there. They can also go to our district office there in Washington Street, 210 Washington Street in Gainesville. And we are always available to talk to the constituents of the 9th District to help them with any issue in the federal government, at any 3-letter agency, whether it's the Social Security Administration, whether it's the IRS, whether it's the Department of Justice, or with the Veterans Administration. And that's probably one of the main the main issues we have to deal with is VA. But, that's what we're here to do, and we're happy to do it.
Andrew, Clyde, thank you so much for being with us today.
Martha, you got one more second?
Yes.
Point of a moment of personal privilege. Today's Valentine's Day. I'm up here in Washington, D.C., and my Valentine is still back there in Georgia. So to my Jennifer, happy Valentine's Day, sweetheart. I love you.
Oh, you are a little sweetheart. I think she's the best part of you, so that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much. It's always great. They are just a lovely couple, and she is also a very talented musician. So if you ever get the chance to hear her play, you should. It's the Martha Zoller Show. We're always here. We're always local.